Okay, so welcome everybody to Town Council meeting of March 2nd. We have a public hearing that's going to occur here in just a little bit, but we're going to move forward with a couple of motions first. So we're going to move forward. Everybody's had a chance to review the agenda, and if everybody's comfortable, nothing to add, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councilor Pudlow, seconded by Councilor Nadeau. Be it resolved that the Council of Town Neepawa approve the regular meeting agenda for March 2nd, 2021. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and everybody's had a chance to review last meeting's minutes, and it says no errors or omissions. Can we move forward with a motion on that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Headley, seconded by Councilor Constanchuk. Be it resolved that the Council of Town Neepawa approve the minutes of the regular meeting held February 16, 2021, and the minutes of the special meeting held February 18, 2021 is circulated. All in favor? Carried. Okay. We are going to move into the public hearing. So again, you will need a motion to open that. So can I get a motion to open the public hearing? Moved by Councilor Parrott. Second by Councilor Gerard. Be it resolved that the Council of Town Neepawa do not open this public hearing to hear representation to conditional use variation application CU-B-01-2021 of Foresight Real Estate Limited. All in favor? Carried. Okay, Jeff, I think you're up.
Yes, so this is application V-U01-2021. Owner of the property, Foresight Real Estate Limited. Applicant, Lance Delorier, from Liddell Construction Limited. And the proposals, first portion, variation order requested to, there's 4 parts. It's A, is increase the maximum height of the building from 45 feet to 50 feet. The setback from the north property boundary to be reduced from the greater of 15 feet or half the height of the building, being 25 feet, to the proposed 4 feet 6 inches. The setback from the south boundary, from the south property boundary, be reduced from the greater of 15 feet or half the height of the building, 25 feet, to the proposed 4 feet 10 inches. And to reduce the number of required parking stalls for the proposed development from the required 54 stalls to proposed 40. And just for some clarification, the total stalls provided or allowed on the site are 43, 3 of those which will need to be allocated to the existing commercial use, leaving 40 to the proposed residential development. And the second part is the conditional use requested to allow for location of moderate density multiple unit residential building within the CC Commercial Central Zone. And it's affecting properties 361 Mountain Avenue, being lots A, B, C, and D, plans 63062, and 295 Cameron Street, being lots E, G, H, and F, plan 63062. And the reason to support is to allow for the proposed construction of a 36-unit, 4-story residential building.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the council before we ask anyone in the audience if they want to come and speak?
Lance is here.
Oh, Lance is here, okay.
He's the applicant. If he wishes to, he can
Sure. No,
speak a little bit to the project.
No, you want to come sit at this chair here, that'd be great. Welcome.
Yeah, we propose a 36-unit apartment, 5-story, one little grade on the back. You guys all seen the plans, or?
Yeah. Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward, I don't know what to do to tell you.
So how many units was there going to be in there?
36.
36 units?
Yeah.
40 parking spots.
Question. So on the drainage during, my concern was drainage during construction time. I know there's a drainage plan for when the building is operating and the whole bit. However, during construction, have you talked with Jeff about how that is to work, or with Denise, I should say?
No, we haven't spoken on that yet. And I do agree. That was also something. There's various items which I was going to discuss through the permitting stage, as far as site safety and protection of other properties, water drainage, that type of stuff. That hasn't been addressed as of yet, but right now we've just been addressing getting the approvals in state first, so.
The other question I would have then on either side, because it would seem rather severe variances going from 25 feet down to 4'10". However, with the roadways on either side of the building, one a back lane, one a road, one option would have been to have the streets and the back lane closed, and the purchase of that property then would have allowed the building to have no variances there. But by the town keeping the property, we still have our access to our services, and yet there's still deemed space there. So being that close to the town services, is that going to pose an issue during your build?
Okay, anybody else? Okay, thank you, Lance. Oh, sorry, Darryl.
Will that, I guess that would become, permitting, but even within our own the town, is that going to prevent standard sidewalks and things like that around that facility if it goes into place? If we have that type of variances to the sides and that?
Well, on the plan, they've already proposed, or at least on the south side there's an exit, because there's a stairwell corridor on more so on the south side with access, and it does actually incorporate a landing or a set of stairs coming from the exit of the building up onto the parking lot. So the north side, there's nothing proposed. It's basically a retaining wall. Just due to the elevation considerations to get drainage, there'll essentially just be a retaining wall back to the building.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Colleen.
Could I maybe just add one, just so everybody is aware? We actually had the opportunity to do a Zoom conference call with Denise and Jeff and myself and of course Lance and the architect last week. What we were discussing, I think when this was originally proposed, the plan was to send all of the drainage onto Mountain Avenue, which is how it should have been. Since the flood of 2020, we have relooked at where our waters pool in town, looking at the size of the structure that was going to be built on the lot, which you did raise it to meet that ability to send it to Mountain and grade it in such a manner that it would do so. We have since undertaken having SBC consultants do an overall drainage plan for the town of Neepawa. In that drainage plan, very clearly, issues have been identified where we have hills in town in Neepawa. We need to address drainage better so that the properties at the bottom of the hill aren't affected like they were in July of last year. So our conversation with Lance and the group on Monday last week was such that we're going to redirect the drainage now. They don't need to adjust the height of their building or what they've established for leveling it off. They're going to create a catch basin in more into the parking lot area. We're going to send all of that water basically to the south onto Mill Street, and then we're going to do some works which are already budgeted in this year's budget to direct waters that come from Mill and address issues that occur at the top of the hill there at Mill and Mountain. And then future plans addressing waters that also come across from the west in that area. So there has been an alteration. I think Lance and the group were, I believe, satisfied at the end of the discussion that we weren't asking you to go back to the drawing board and redesign your plans, change the heights of your building. We'll just install a catch basin and be able to capture that water and send it over to Mill now instead of on Mountain.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, thank you, Lance. Anybody else? Something I'd like to say?
Same concerns we've had, they've been somewhat addressed. Today, we're just worried about at the bottom, where one of the hills, our houses at the bottom. Just worried about making sure that the water is not coming towards us. By the comment there, sending it to Mill, if that eventually comes to us, down at the bottom of the hill, comes down Mill, takes the corner, comes down Brown.
And maybe Denise can speak a little bit more to that.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is it'll all go subsurface, right?
Okay.
So we're gonna get it underground, and then we'll look at soiling it out. Probably either we'll continue on where it discharges down towards the river, or we're gonna discharge and integrate some sort of run into the soccer field area and the grass area to calm it out that way. So it won't even, it'll go right around your whole site.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to alleviate all those concerns where it's coming and wrapping around to you guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's our biggest concern.
The other concern we have as a group of 5 down there, is during construction, obviously, Marie, you brought that up. But we're more worried about is, is backfill just gonna be thrown over the hill to then wash down to us in a rainstorm like it did 7 years ago on July 1st, and our street is completely covered in mud. Is that something, as homeowners at the bottom, we have to be worried about them just throwing their backfill over the top of the hill for it to roll down to our property?
Okay. Denise? Jeff?
I guess, none of that has really been discussed or proposed myself, but obviously those are measures that we can.
I'm pretty sure we can do some, pretty easy items to mitigate that.
Yeah, that's all we're worried about.
Yeah,
It's just
no, I don't see why that.
We've been through it once when Murray's was torn down, we put the backfill in to kind of level it, and you were there that weekend, because we called you to come and look at it, and it was a torrent of mud coming down towards us, so that was our other concern.
I think one of the good things, Troy, is once this is done, that problem's gone for good.
Absolutely, yeah, I don't disagree with that, yeah. If the water is being redirected, we deal with it every storm, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that was,
guess, I'll maybe just ask for you, Troy, I guess the points where you have come to council before, and we've talked about drainage and sending it to mountain, based on, obviously an opinion and best guess, and based on your experience and whatnot in the office here, just so the public is clearly aware that we are using the sources of an engineer now, a drainage consultant with proper design, so any design in town will be premised on the fact that we actually have professionals coming to take a look at it for us.
awesome. Great, yeah, because last July we all know, but.
Yeah.
Great, that was my concern, so.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions, any other comments, anybody else?
I just had one more comment. Dave McIntosh from Team Electronics, I discussed the plan with him. He's totally in favor of the plan. He didn't want to object by any means. He does just want to, he also wanted to note it, more so any parking that would be on Cameron Street. Because he doesn't want to see any parking or traffic there interfere with any deliveries or function of his business to that. So I told him I'd note that, but I think we kind of spoke on that as well too. If parking becomes an issue or something on the street, that it could just be no parking for a portion of the block or something.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Anybody else? Okay, all right, I guess we're going to close this public hearing, so I need a motion. Moved by Councilor Butler, seconded by Councilor Courthouses. Be it resolved, the Council of Town Neepawa do now adjourn this public hearing meeting at 7:20 p.m. All in favor? Carried. Okay. We're moving on to delegation. We have Shannon Montgomery here. Shannon, you're with Montgomery. Have a Shannon. Welcome.
Yeah. I'd just like to introduce myself. I am Sharon. I live at 378 Main Street, which I've resided at for 27 years in May this year. The property west of me started construction 4 years ago, and still no fixed structure has been built. That's an NA. Reason from builder Jamie Sutsky of Big and Rich 2.0 said he was waiting for the town to install water and sewer. That's what he's been telling me. And I don't, that's really saying anything. The question is, what is the protocol for the town to install water and sewer on a lot? Like, I know they've installed it in other lots. So is there your next, like, is there a first, second, third, fourth? Like, I don't know.
I think it was kind of a chicken and egg thing, didn't he? Like,
Yeah, we're waiting essentially for Jamie to come up with a firm plan that he's proceeding, and then we'll commit to doing the infrastructure. So we generally don't proceed with servicing a site until we know there's a commitment from the builder or the owner that they're going to proceed with the construction project. That way we don't put money forth that's wasted because it's never built on, right? So to service that site, it's a rather tricky endeavor. Essentially,
Yeah,
we're
I
going to
didn't know if that ceramic pipe that was November 12, 2019, when the water came out of that in town. There was a couple of town employees.
We went to investigate that one, and it appears to be an old weeping tile or an archaic sewer line that maybe left the castle estate when it was all one giant property.
Okay.
And it's probably filled over years and made it look a lot deeper than it was originally.
Yeah, because it filled it.
But all indications were that that was just groundwater coming in out. But to service Jamie's property is that we'd have to probably come from the other side of the highway off the Eastview Lodge property and drill across. So it's a big project for us to service that site. That's why we need to know there's a firm commitment that building is gonna happen in a timely manner.
So if he was to come with a building permit and said, I'm ready to go, that would be what you could consider something concrete, right?
Yeah.
So why, like, I mean, I read the banner last week, and
Yep.
static all these lots, and some get 3 years, which I totally understand, you got 32 lots, that's a lot to build. Some had 5, and their bylaw is 2 years.
Correct. But
So
that was,
why are some lots,
that was property that we owned though, right?
yeah, so
And that-
that's why.
And that's the difference, yeah, unfortunately, I don't
So
know.
it could stay like, this lot west of me could stay like this for the next, well, it's been 5, so.
Yeah, I don't want to use those specific words, but it is a private ownership of that property, and yeah, that's not inside the town's bylaws
So
to.
nobody is accountable to say like, okay, look, Jamie, you started this, it's devalued my property, like, hello, it's an eyesore.
Yeah,
And
and
it just basically sucks to be me.
yeah, I knew that was the question you were going to ask me. And it's a
Well, we
different.
do not want that.
No, absolutely, I
answer.
agree, it's just that there's just nothing.
I've been pretty patient.
There's just nothing in our rules or our bylaws that allows us to.
So why?
Well, I guess it's a slippery slope. I mean, if you were a private property owner, I mean, you want the town meddling in what you're going to do on your private property, like, that's
As a
a slip-
taxpayer living beside them, yeah, I do like that.
Okay, it's a slippery slope though, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
it's one thing when we own the property, we can set the rules and we can set the standards, but when it's somebody else's, I mean, yeah, I mean, we do get more public developments occurring where, where it's all privately funded. I mean, those people will have the opportunity to do what they want with it, right? They will be able to say, we're not gonna develop for 5 years or 10 years, that's their decision. It makes no sense to me. If you're gonna buy something, why wouldn't you develop it? I agree with you. But from my point of view, it's out of our control, and I know that seems like not the right answer, but.
Not as a taxpayer,
The control we have over is that he keeps it from being unsightly, like he's not parking
So the 4
derelict
feet
vehicles
thistles
and the
last
weeds
year.
aren't 12 feet high.
but, yeah.
So as long as he's maintaining the site before the build, a lot of times during construction, sites don't look that great, but it's understood it's during construction. And I've even been told to clean up sites before because they just were too much of an eyesore for what we were doing, or especially if a project was slow. So I mean, if it became an eyesore, then the town can step in and say, clean it up. And if they don't clean it up, we can have it cleaned up and put it on the taxes.
So how high do the thistles have to get before the town steps in? Like, we finally got hold of them when they were this high last fall. Like, I don't know, like, this is all new to me.
Well, that I can't answer because that's
So we finally, my husband got a hold of
I
them.
don't know those rules, so.
We did, I checked the balance today, we actually did have him, and I can't verify, I didn't go look at it, but he did actually go and trim his grass and his weeds a few times last year according to Dallas, but other than that, if you have an issue like that in the future, let us know, and by all means, we send like dozens of letters that go in the summertime to people to make sure their lots are clean and tidy. We'll put it on the list, for sure.
Councilor Costichuk.
So I'm just on Shannon's, so what we're saying to her is, because it has nothing to do, the town does not own the property, so we have no say in what happens there. So what is her step, to do? You've gone to Jamie, you've taken this concerns to
He's
him?
told me, but that's him telling me that he's waiting for the town to put water in.
Okay.
I even confirmed with my husband today, I said, you're sure that, yes, that's what he told me, but he said they're supposed to be going underneath the Eastview Lodge, and I thought, okay, there's gotta be some kind of protocol that this lot's serviced and this, because I've watched around town, I've watched that these lots are serviced and they're getting serviced, I'm thinking, well, why are they not putting?
Okay.
Going forward, we can reaffirm with Jamie that Denise is going to be talking to him about what the rules are again, and then you know what the rules are, then going forward, it's...
Yeah, and that's why I have to do this, I thought, at least I know, okay.
I think what we'll do, I think if Jeff's not opposed to it, we'll try to arrange a meeting with Jamie where he comes out here We'll try to establish a property standard. So either it's mowed, either you're servicing it, or we'll figure out when we're servicing it, or a third option be skim some topsoil, sow it to grass, so at least it's a manageable lawn that can be manicured and taken care of in a better property standard. So we'll do our part and see if we can reach out and have them over here. Like I said, unfortunately, we have little enforcement other than if the thistles get high, let us know, but we can't force him to build.
Councilor George?
I think what you can take from council tonight is that we're committed to infrastructure there on a suitable building plan for site. Okay. When we're proposed a suitable building which conform to the area, we'll be there with our services.
Yeah.
So we can facilitate that, because I used to live right across from those lots where you are. It was, when the previous owner cut down all the trees, I wasn't happy, but I understand that's how the rules
At least
work.
there was something there.
But
Now there's just mud.
I know, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But we will stand and do our part once we're presented with something that we can react to. But until that time, yeah.
That's doing
Okay, thank
Just so
you.
you're aware too, by driving the pipe across the PTH 16, and that's partly why we need to be secure, in fact, if he is going to build there. There's a process for permitting and the allowance to get the pipe to be driven underneath PTH 16. So Jamie needs to commit to a build there, and we'll get the wheels in motion and make it happen.
Yeah, I think you can take that away from this meeting, that certainly if he's committed to building, we will be committed to getting him what he needs for services.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, council reports. Does anybody have any council reports? Okay, be quiet for March. All right. Denise? Good. Matt?
Thank you. So we've had our water system report. It's an annual report the town has to compile based on the year's operations of the water treatment plant. That has been completed. It's been submitted under our license requirement to the province. It is also a report that's available for the public. There's generally a copy up front, a hard copy, and it's also posted to the town's website. So it runs through water production, operators, certification, any major expenditures that we face over in the utility side of things. As I said, that's been completed. I don't believe that's been attached, but it will be on the town's website and at the front desk for any public that wishes to see it. We recently filled the position of skilled labor 3. Mr. Scott Boxall has accepted our position to work for the town of Neepawa. And we still have our public works supervisor position. It is still posted till this Friday. So we'll see what we have for an applicant pool come in there. If we deem with the HR committee there's not a suitable applicant pool, we will re-advertise again. But that is closing this Friday. Other than that, we've had a mild winter for snowfall, so we've been fortunate here for a budget that way. With the upcoming weather changing, I've informed staff to continue keeping a vigilant eye for any water pooling, any zones that we need to scrape out so that we don't have any excess pooling and freezing and making any slippery conditions. We've done another additional order of sidewalk salt. We've been trialing a different version of the salt that's less corrosive, so we shouldn't see any spalling happening to the concrete. Costs us a little bit more money, but the hope is that we don't destroy our sidewalks with the more corrosive salt. So in the last couple of weeks, we have used several of them. We've also been scraping, trying to alleviate any of the concerns with any slippery intersections or sidewalks. That being said, as far as the equipment sanding, the general rule of thumb is that we sand all intersections and they will do them repeatedly throughout the day, and we'll keep an eye on how the weather patterns are changing and making things slippery. We don't generally do the middle sections of a street, so we just avoid start-go stops where pedestrians are going to cross at intersections. Otherwise, we'd have a heck of a more cleanup, and it just hasn't been deemed necessary at this point. So, if there are any questions, that's
Well, I was just thinking when you were talking about that, do you think, I mean, there seems to be weather patterns changing all the time, right? And there seems to be getting less snow and more ice and more of that type of weather. Do you see the town changing its budget and how maybe it would handle those things? If we're gonna see more ice on our sidewalks, more ice on our streets, or is it just nature of the beast, we can only do so much, or?
Well, that's essentially why we definitely push for the sidewalk standard, so that we could apply to the sidewalks where we see more pedestrian traffic moving along. In the areas that don't have the sidewalks, I'll ask staff probably to make some judgment calls on whether they want to do a sprinkling more across the entire street.
So what is our commitment to sidewalks when it comes to sanding? We choose the ones we think need to be.
Yeah, so it's up to the operator. So if he sees bare concrete, there's obviously no need to salt it.
Okay.
We're seeing any low spots ponding or we've seen some melting happening, then they'll definitely apply. So it's a case by case and operator decision on the fly.
Anybody else? No?
4th Street, where it gets onto the Highway 16, is a perpetual pool, several, heavy rains and spring.
Yep.
Is there a long-range plan for that one?
Not till we get some subsurface extensions there for drainage. In the interim, we'll keep an eye on that. I was actually considering having the back truck go kind of vacuum it up just to, because we don't have much snow, so there shouldn't be any much more accumulation of water. So I'll probably try to go tidy those up. Staff will be out with steamers, finding out any frozen drains in the coming days with the heat we've got. So we'll try to make sure we don't have those lakes develop where we can drain them out.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Okay, moving forward, Colleen, correspondence, Minister of Municipal Relations.
So this is quite news, the first breaking news of the day. We have shared this before. Just for the public though, we received notification from the Minister of Municipal Relations that our community's application under the Fire Protection Grant Program has been approved. So just so you're aware, we've been awarded funding in an amount of $54,251.62 to purchase a drying cabinet for turnout gear, a Jaws of Life, a water rescue boat, and a thermal imaging camera. So we do understand as we've been pricing these things out, especially with Jaws of Life, the prices are a little higher than what we spec when we sent in our applications. So we will top it up a little bit, but very nice to receive $54,000 towards gear that is significantly important to the operation of our fire hall and safety of people.
Yeah, no, very good news. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Denise.
I have more to add. I forgot Jody's items she gave me.
Sorry, Jody.
Said I wasn't supposed to say her name, but I did anyway. So there's been some amendments to the public health orders. We posted this to our town Facebook page. So again, ask residents to keep an eye out on the town's Facebook. Jody does a good job of updating it and keeping things fresh in there. So essentially, we're keeping a lot of stuff open. I think they've loosened up some of the gatherings, Jody, or is it 5 to 10 now?
To 10 as of Friday.
So
But that's outside.
outside. And as I mentioned, we have public works service, but we also posted our seasonal employment. And again, this was in the paper, and it should also be on our town Facebook page and the town website.
Correct.
So we're accepting applications for summer employment. So anyone interested, you can drop it off. We're reading that. Back to sidewalks is that we're talking a lot about the salting we do. That's on the residential portion.
Okay.
It's also a reminder that businesses have to maintain their front sidewalk. So we will do a quick drive-by, but we're more concerned with the residential portion. We're putting the onus on businesses, and that's where our policy is agreed in the town of Neepawa that they are to try to do their best on trying to clean those as well.
Okay. Councilor Dart?
And who's responsible for the sidewalks in front of the county courthouses? Because those are chronically the worst ones on this street.
Those will be into the town of Neepawa. Because I don't think that the other partners in there go out and shovel or salt it.
Well, I mean, I guess if there are partners, we can bill them accordingly, because as a business, that is, if it is the responsibility of the businesses, and we're going to hold businesses accountable, we have to hold ourselves and our fellow participants in those buildings responsible as well.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Jarrett. Okay, we will move forward into the finance part. Everybody's had a chance to review our financial statement for December. Everything's good with that. We'll move forward with the motion. Moved by Deputy Mayor Headley, seconded by Councilor Gerard. Be it resolved that we approve the financial statements for the year end December 31st, 2020. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and we are paying our accounts for February 2021, so if I can get a motion to move forward on that. Moved by Councilor Costanchuk, seconded by Councilor Padlock. Be it resolved that we approve the accounts for February 2021 totaling $414,182.06 as reviewed and representing check number 202-100-173 to 202-100-310, but excluding 202-100-233 and 202-100-295. All in favor? Carried. Councilor Garrett, Deputy Mayor Headley excusing themselves from conflict. We're going to move forward to pay a couple bills to Home Hardware and the Co-op. Moved by Councilor Parrott, seconded by Councilor Little. Be it resolved that we approve check number 202-100-233 and 202-100-295 for February 2021 to Home Hardware and Neepawa Gladstone Co-op totaling $3,539.19. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we're moving back into new business, and we are going to look at the resolution for the application that we just had in the public hearing. So do we have any questions, any comments before we move forward on that? Everybody's calling?
I'm just going to add that the resolution, as you read it, is pretty much what was proposed by the planning district. We did, however, have a recommendation from the Interior Office that a development agreement be entered into to form the basis for both the commercial and residential uses of the property, because we do recognize the property currently has one building that sits on Mountain Avenue, and now it's going to have a second one that sits on the backside to the east. If those properties at some point need to be split off or sold for any reason and come under the ownership of different personnel, we thought we need to have this agreement take into consideration shared access, use of the approach of the parking area, any loading or unloading requirements, and services such as garbage collection. And of course, such development agreement to be registered on all affected titles by the property owner at their own cost, and a copy provided to the planning office to make sure that we have received that.
Anybody else? Councilor Parrott.
Just when we do variances and conditional uses, we look at them on a case-by-case basis, and with this situation, these variances are shortened down substantially, but it still has the deemed space necessary for functionality on the sides, and current and future use of that same spaces as part of it.
Councilor Gerard.
What was your consideration though when we were looking at the variances on the parking side? I guess my concern is we put a 36 suite apartment, a 36 unit apartment with 40 spots. We know we're kind of birthing a street parking issue, do we not?
My consideration on that was the fact that the council was previously pushing for one parking stall per unit as part of our bylaws.
I thought it was 1.5.
Well, no, it is 1.5, but there was a flavor to change it to 1. I'm just going with my memory now. So I wasn't as aggressive at keeping that 1.5.
Jeff, do you want to speak to that?
Well, yeah, so I guess currently right now, the 40, they have a minimum of one for every unit with 54, they 14 extra essentially, right, to equal their half a spot per unit. I'm not trying to convince any decisions, but just on a way of looking at it. Even if you looked at like the 1.5 is essentially a number that's in our zoning bylaw. It's been in the zoning bylaw for I don't know how long. Don't know if it's really the right number or not, but that's the number we use for computation. Even if you have 2 individuals in every unit that are driving, our 1.5 still wouldn't equal enough parking for that building regardless. So I guess in my opinion, looking at it, they do have enough for each one. They do have extras for a bit of overflow, whether it's visitors or whether they want to sign it. Essentially, it comes down to the owner, and they need to be made aware of that if approved. When they're renting out these places, they know that they're assigning 1 spot for everyone and that their tenants adhere to that as well, right? So some of the onus should be on the owner to enforce that parking amongst their building, right?
I looked at one unit in Winnipeg, and they had 1 stall per unit plus 1 guest stall. So for the 12 units, they just had the 1 guest stall.
I'm not,
No, I don't.
but I mean, just to address that, because I mean, that's gonna come from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because it's addressing where these additional cars, people who have
Street
2
clearing
vehicles,
and-
street clearing, where are they parking? Yeah, like in that area, it's gonna overflow into if there's additional vehicles. Yeah.
So if I understand this correctly, Jeff, we could still go ahead and pass this resolution, but we could still go back and discuss the parking, is that correct, if we were?
Well, you can approve portions or you can alter portions. So in essence, a 2-part, there's a variation and there's a conditional use portion of it. If you're in favor of the development, you're not sure of some of the variations, you can proceed with approving the conditional use and either alter a variation, you can reject one of the variations, that type of scenario. But whatever you pass on that resolution tonight, you're done talking about it. So
Okay.
you either have to be tabled or
I
discussed.
understand that. So are you guys, what do you think then? Are you comfortable with the way it's drawn, or?
I am, I just think,
Okay.
just to get it on the record that we know that the developer is gonna have to enforce that with their tenants, is that is the expectation.
Okay, if we're comfortable with that, we'll move forward with the resolution then. Okay, moved by Councilor Perry. Seconded by Councilor Cotter. Be it resolved that we support Foresight Real Estate in the construction of a 36-unit, 4-story residential building within the CC Commercial Central Zone affecting 361 Mountain Avenue, lots A to D, Plan 63062, and 295 Cameron Street, lots E to H, Plan 63062, as requested under application CU-V-01-2021 by applicant Lance Delorier on behalf of Foresight Real Estate Limited, and in doing so, the following shall apply. 1. Conditional use to be granted to allow for the location of a moderate density multiple use residential building within the CC Commercial Central Zone. 2. Variances approved to increase the maximum height of the building from 45 to 50 feet. Reduce the north property boundary setback from the greater of 15 feet or 1/2 the height of the building 25 feet to the proposed 4 feet 6 inches. Reduce the south property boundary setback from the greater of 15 feet or 1/2 of the height of the building 25 feet to the proposed 4 feet 10 inches. Reduce the number of parking stalls from the proposed development from the required 55 stalls to the proposed 40 stalls. Total stalls provided on site will reflect 43, with 3 allocated to the existing commercial use and 40 allocated to the proposed residential use. And a development agreement to be entered into to form the basis for both commercial and residential uses on the property. The agreement to take into consideration shared access, use of approach and parking area, any loading or unloading requirements, and services such as garbage collection. Such development agreement to be registered on all affected titles by the property owner at their own cost, with a copy provided to the planning office. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we are moving on to the sale of a property, lot 9, Colleen.
Just very quickly, as everyone knows, we sold quite a bit of property since the last council meeting, one at the last council meeting. We have another one on the table right now for another sale in the RT zone, which would leave us after tonight. Only 5 RT properties still available, although we do have a few kind of kicking tires right now making purchases as well.
It's pretty amazing. Okay, we're going to move forward with that motion then. Moved by Councilor Pudlow, seconded by Councilor Legault. Be it resolved that we approve the sale of Lot 9, Plan 65638 in Southwest 13-14-15 West in the amount of $45,000 to Leeway and Nelson Cabaret, subject to the terms of the purchase and sale agreement. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and then we're going back to approve the subdivision of the Osborne-Susky. Colleen, Jeff, I don't know who was going to
So
speak.
this is a new one, Jeff might want to add to it if he feels to do so. This proposal to subdivide part of the southeast 32-14-15 West, which is more appropriately Lot 1 block for Plan 6965, an application of Dustin Osborne and Sherry Susky. So as we all know, when you file a subdivision with community planning out of the province of Manitoba, you send all your paperwork in and they submit it around for circulation. The proposed subdivision is going to subdivide 7.44 acres of land. It's basically located at the southwest corner of Gill Drive in the town of Neepawa. There are currently 2 large buildings on the property. The building to the south will be on proposed Lot 2, and the building to the north will stay with the residual land. So this will effectively create 3 different parcels. This will create 2 new commercial lots. Lot 2 is serviced by a holding tank. Water is from an individual well, and service is not being determined for the proposed Lot 3. Access to the proposed lots will be on Gill Drive. So under the development plan, the subject property is designated highway commercial area. Fits within the policies. Zoning bylaw, the subject property is classified as MH industrial heavy zone. And of course, that would also fit for what they're proposing at the time. Through circulation, land titles have said they will require a 3-lot plan of subdivision as proposed. Manitoba Conservation and Climate, the Environmental Operations Center, has said that they have no concerns at this time with the subdivision. Bell MTS will require easements and request that as a condition of approval for the subdivision proposal, the landowner is required to enter into a right-of-way agreement with Bell MTS for existing and future telecommunications facilities in connection with the subdivision for the 3.1 meter easement, and they provided a diagram to show where it would be located. Manitoba Conservation and Climate, the Department of Water Stewardship, has no comments at this time, but if there are any water control works planned, the applicant will have to contact Water Stewardship for the appropriate licensing. Hydro will require easements regarding existing and future facilities associated with the subdivision as set out in the application. As a result of changes to the Real Property Act, Hydro must ensure that its easement rights are registered against all relevant titles before further transfers of the titles can take place. Therefore, Hydro requests that as a condition of this subdivision, the developer is required to register the agreement along with the easement plan, if required, in series immediately following the proposed subdivision plan at the appropriate land titles office. This registration requirement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. Central Gas does not require any easements. If this application is revised at any time, it will be necessary for Manitoba Hydro or Central Gas to review the file to determine if easement requirements do remain the same. They're asking for, of course, the surveyor to provide Manitoba Hydro with PDF copies of subdivision and it's kind of just administrative details insofar as that. And all other agencies have no comments or concerns. So under community planning, the recommendations are that a variation order be granted for the front yard setback to be reduced from the required 15 feet to the proposed 10.47 feet for the existing building on Lot 1, and front yard required 15 feet to the proposed 10.83 for the existing building on Lot 2. Internally, we also looked at this where the property is located and what's currently happening in that area. Recommendation is also that the driveway access on the proposed Lot 2 would be corrected to address the encroachment on Lot 2, Block 4, Plan 6965. That is a parcel of land currently owned by the town of Neepawa. It is not a public road, it is not a laneway, it is an actual parcel of land. So we're asking that the encroachment be corrected there. Also that Lot 2 continue to be serviced by the existing holding tank and well system until such a time that the property exchanges ownership. At that time, the property owner will be required to discontinue the use of the respective alternate service and make connection to the town systems as available within a period of 2 years with the connection cost borne by the owner. that in respects of lots 1 and 3, in the instance that the properties exchange ownership and require water and sewer services, they shall make connection to the town water service, and when made available, the town sewer services with the connection cost borne by the owner. And that the town reserves the right to register a caveat in the form of a development agreement respecting the requirements to connect to the town's utility services with associated costs of registering the agreement borne by the applicant to this subdivision. So just those last two requirements will align with our new proposed water and wastewater bylaw requirements.
Any questions, any comments? Jeff, do you have anything to add? No?
No.
Okay. Okay, it sounds like everybody was on board with it. We didn't have anybody with any issues. Everybody's ready to move forward with that resolution? Okay, moved by Councilor Byrne. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Henry. Be it resolved that we approve subdivision 4437-21-8245 of Dustin Osborne, Sherry Susky to subdivide lot 1, block 4, plan 6965 in southeast 3214-15 west, subject to the following conditions. That a variation order be granted to reduce the front yard setback from the required 15 feet to the proposed 10.47 feet for the existing building on the proposed lot 1, and to reduce the front yard setback from the required 15 feet to the proposed 10.83 feet for the existing building on lot 2. That the driveway access on proposed lot 2 be corrected to address the encroachment on lot 2, block 4, plan 6965. That lot 2 continue to be serviced by the existing holding tank and well system until such time that the property exchanges ownership. At that time, the property owner will be required to discontinue the use of the respective alternative service and make connection to the town systems as available within a period of 2 years with connection costs borne by the owner. That in respect of lots 1 and 3, in the instance that the properties exchange ownership and require water and sewer services, they shall make connection to the town water service, and when made available, the town sewer service with connection costs borne by the owner, and that the town reserve the right to register a caveat in the form of a development agreement respecting the requirement to connect to the town's utility services with associated costs of registering the agreement borne by the applicant to this subdivision. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we're on to beaver control. Who gets that one? Denise.
Well, we found someone to trap beavers.
Okay, good.
So I forget the gentleman's name, but we've secured a deal.
Chad Campbell?
Yeah, that he's urging beaver control for the RM. There's fewer and fewer people doing this now. So in the event that we cannot discharge a firearm, we actually have someone who has a trapper's license and can humanely trap the beavers that become a nuisance in the community.
Okay, good to know.
So are we relocating them?
No.
So my one question is, how are you going to tell the difference between a Neepawa beaver tail and, let's say, a Rosedale beaver tail?
At the time of the nuisance is reported, we will know there's a nuisance beaver, say, beside the Baptist church, where we had issues with them there. At the time of capture,
We'll look for their health card.
yeah, show us residency or whatever.
Okay, we will move forward with that resolution. Moved by Councilor Puzzle, seconded by Councilor Constantine. Be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Neepawa authorized Chad Campbell to trap nuisance beaver in the Town of Neepawa under the authority of the Manager of Operations and/or Public Works Supervisor. Be it further resolved that Chad Campbell is responsible for all Manitoba conservation paperwork and to be remunerated at $70 per beaver tail as presented by the Public Works Supervisor. All in favor? Okay. Okay, well, since we're on beavers, we are now moving on to nuisance birds.
It's just an annual resolution that we have to name people that are authorized to discharge firearms in the town of Neepawa for the purpose of getting rid of nuisance birds and crows and pigeons and vermin. And they work with the RC.
What happened to the falcons?
It's not on the list.
No, but didn't we used to have the falcons come in to do that?
We tried. I don't know what the follow-up with that was, Councillor Parrott, but yeah, there was some past talk about having falcons do the predatory killing for us, and I would have to follow up, but that has been a number of years now before that was followed up on.
We tried to establish it on the county courthouse, and
Yeah,
It didn't.
You need to
Didn't
start
take- it didn't
nesting,
work.
yeah.
it worked, okay.
So you're gonna notice this resolution also refers to beavers, but the gentlemen on this one are letting Chad Campbell do beavers. So
Okay.
that's what it
All right.
is.
Okay, we'll move forward with that resolution. Moved by Councilor Jordan, second by Councilor Nadeau. Whereas certain species of birds such as crows, pigeons, and vermin, such as beavers, that pose a public nuisance and danger to the public, and whereas the council deems it necessary to shoot such that pose a public nuisance and a health risk, therefore be it resolved, the council of Town Neepawa authorize Jake Birch and Danny Nugent through the direction and consultation with the local police department and the CEO to discharge firearms for this purpose within the town limits during the 2021 year. All in favor? Carried. Okay. We are down to other business. Anybody got anything they want to talk about tonight, or? No? Okay. Then I guess we will move on to adjournment. Moved by Councilor Putnam, second by Councilor Constantine. Be it resolved, the Council of Town Neepawa do now adjourn this regular meeting of council at 7:55 p.m. All in favor?